Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, replaying conversations, worrying about tomorrow, or carrying the invisible weight of rejection and burnout? In a world that demands constant speed, the truth is your mind never slows down. But here's the good news. Mindfulness isn't reserved for monks on mountains or hours of meditation. It's something you can practice in the middle of your busy life right here, right now. And today, I'll share mindfulness tricks for busy life, simple tools for stress relief you can do anywhere. Have you noticed how your day sometimes feels like a race you never signed up for? From the moment you open your eyes, your mind is already flooded. Emails waiting, responsibilities pressing, people expecting. It feels as though there's no room to breathe, and in that constant rush, the smallest interruption can feel overwhelming. Someone's tone at work, a partner's delayed reply, or even traffic on the way home can trigger stress that lingers for hours. The truth is, stress isn't only about the situation itself, but about the way we are caught in it without pause. Imagine yourself being pulled along by a river's current. You don't even realize you're drowning because you never stop to notice. This is where the simple act of pausing becomes powerful. 1 minute, even 30 seconds, is enough to change the entire trajectory of your day. You close your eyes, take one slow breath, and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? That question alone creates a gap between you and the chaos. Instead of reacting blindly, you step back and see the situation with new clarity. Think about the last time you snapped at someone close to you, not because of them, but because your mind was already overwhelmed. A pause in that moment would have softened the sharp edges, helped you respond instead of explode, and preserved the connection. The pause doesn't erase life's pressures, but it reminds you that you are not your stress. You are the one observing it, and when you can observe, you can choose. It's like pressing the reset button during an argument, after receiving criticism, or when self-doubt whispers that you're not enough. That one breath is often the difference between spiraling into regret and finding your footing again. Anxiety often feels like a storm building in your chest. It starts small, maybe with a single thought, what if I fail? And suddenly your heart races, your palms sweat, and you feel completely out of control. It is in these moments that the most reliable anchor you have is your own breath. It's always with you, quietly working in the background, ready to bring you home to calm. One of the most effective ways to use it is box breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold again for 4. It sounds simple, but this rhythm is a direct signal to your nervous system that you are safe. You can practice it silently in a meeting, on a crowded bus, or while lying awake at night. The beauty is in its subtlety. No one needs to know you're doing it. The breath interrupts the spiral, grounding you in the present moment instead of the endless what-ifs. Picture yourself waiting for a message from someone you care about, feeling unwanted because their reply hasn't come. Or imagine sitting in a performance review where every word feels heavy. In both cases, your mind is racing forward, but your breath brings you back here. With each cycle, you feel your heart slow, your body unclench, and your mind clear. Instead of being consumed by panic or loneliness, you reclaim a sense of inner steadiness. It doesn't fix the problem outside you, but it restores the calm within, and that calm is what gives you the strength to handle whatever comes next. So much of life slips by unnoticed because we are moving on autopilot. We wake up, rush through breakfast, drive or commute the same roads, sit at the same desk, and repeat the same cycle without ever being fully present. This constant mode of doing rather than being is one of the hidden roots of burnout. The body moves, but the mind is either trapped in the past or worrying about the future. That disconnection slowly drains energy and joy until every task feels heavy. Yet something as ordinary as walking can become a doorway back to mindfulness. Instead of treating it as a transition from one chore to the next, you can use walking as a grounding ritual. The next time you leave your desk for a glass of water or step outside for a break, notice the way your feet press against the ground. Feel the subtle shift in balance from heel to toe, the rhythm of your steps, the air brushing against your skin. Even 2 minutes of mindful walking can act as a reset button for your nervous system. Think about walking down a hallway after a difficult conversation. Normally, your thoughts replay every word, fueling anger or regret. But if you shift focus to the act of walking itself, the texture of the floor, the sound of your steps, you pull your mind out of the spiral. In relationships, mindful walking can soften the weight of arguments. In the workplace, it can help you leave behind the stress of one meeting before entering another. It is the practice of reminding yourself that peace is not found by running away from stress, but by choosing to be present in the middle of it. Rejection, on the other hand, carries a sting that cuts deeply into self-worth. Whether it's being overlooked for a promotion, not getting a reply from someone you care about, or hearing no when you hoped for yes, the message your mind sends is brutal. You are not good enough. That thought clings, replaying endlessly, turning a single event into a story about who you are. Mindfulness reframes this pain by teaching that rejection is an event, not an identity. It happened, but it is not you. Imagine the difference between saying, "I was rejected, so I'm unworthy," versus, "I experienced rejection, and it hurts, but it doesn't define me." The second statement creates distance. It allows you to feel the ache without merging it with your sense of self. A mindful approach could look like sitting with the discomfort, placing a hand over your heart, and acknowledging, "This hurts right now." By doing so, you soften the instinct to attack yourself. When a friend pulls away, instead of spiraling into overthinking, you learn to hold space for both their choice and your value. At work, when an idea is dismissed, instead of shutting down, you breathe, recognize the sting, and remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to one response. Slowly, rejection shifts from being a wall that blocks you to a doorway that redirects you. It becomes a teacher in resilience rather than a verdict on your identity. Conversations often carry more tension than we realize. At home, a loved one might be sharing their feelings, but instead of truly listening, your mind is racing to prepare your reply, defend your side, or shift the subject. At work, colleagues exchange words, yet beneath the surface, no one feels genuinely heard. This habit of half-listening adds layers of misunderstanding, leaving both sides frustrated and disconnected. The pain of not being listened to is universal. It makes us feel invisible, unworthy, and alone. Mindfulness offers a way to transform this by introducing the practice of listening with full presence. The next time someone speaks, notice your impulse to cut in or rehearse your answer. Instead, take a slow breath, soften your gaze, and give them your undivided attention. Feel the weight of their words, the emotion behind their tone, the pauses that say as much as the sentences. By grounding yourself in the act of listening rather than responding, you create a safe space where the other person feels truly seen. This doesn't just help them, it calms you too, because when you stop planning your defense, you step out of stress and into presence. In a relationship, mindful listening can defuse an argument before it escalates, replacing defensiveness with empathy. In a workplace setting, it can turn tense discussions into opportunities for understanding, improving trust among colleagues. And in moments of loneliness, listening deeply to another person's story reminds you that connection is not about perfect words, but about shared presence. The practice heals both the speaker and the listener, because in that silence, both are acknowledged. Stress convinces us that nothing is ever enough. The to-do list is endless. The bills keep arriving. The love you want feels out of reach, and the mind fixates on everything missing. That tunnel vision magnifies problems and blinds you to what is already present. Gratitude, when practiced mindfully, becomes a powerful antidote. It doesn't dismiss your struggles, but it gently shifts the focus. In a stressful moment, pause and name 3 simple things you can appreciate right now. It might be the warmth of sunlight through a window, the taste of a cup of tea, or the fact that your body carried you through the day. These acknowledgments are not grand. They are grounding. By noticing them, you remind your nervous system that not everything is broken. Imagine facing pressure at work, feeling crushed by deadlines. If you pause to note the supportive colleague who checked in or the quiet comfort of your favorite pen in hand, the load feels lighter. At home, during moments of rejection or conflict, gratitude helps you see the gestures of care that remain, even when one bond feels strained. Over time, this habit rewires your brain to scan for what's right instead of only what's wrong. You begin to realize that while challenges exist, they don't cancel out the blessings that surround you. Gratitude in stress is not denial, it is perspective. It opens the window to balance, reminding you that while life can be demanding, it is also generous in ways we often forget to notice. Discipline is often misunderstood as something harsh, a kind of self-punishment that forces you to act even when your mind and body resist. Many people approach discipline with resentment, dragging themselves to tasks because they feel they have no choice. This approach leads to exhaustion and burnout, as discipline becomes a battle against yourself rather than a partnership with your deeper purpose. Mindfulness reshapes the entire meaning of discipline by shifting the question from, "What must I do?" to, "Why does this matter to me?" Before beginning a task. Whether it's finishing an office report, sticking to a workout routine, or studying for an exam, pause and breathe. Ask yourself why this action aligns with your values or goals. That pause transforms the experience from compulsion to choice. Suddenly, the stress of dragging yourself to do something turns into a conscious step toward what you want to build. Imagine sitting at your desk late at night, drained but still staring at unfinished work. Instead of forcing yourself with guilt, you pause, recall the reason this work matters. Maybe it supports your family, maybe it's a step toward independence, and then return with renewed focus. In relationships, discipline might mean holding back from sending a reactive message and instead choosing patience. At home, it might be showing up for daily routines, even small ones, because you value stability. When approached with mindfulness, discipline stops being a rigid whip and becomes a tool for alignment. It reduces stress because you are no longer working against yourself. You are choosing actions that reflect who you want to become. Loneliness often arrives quietly, and when it does, it whispers cruel stories. That you are unworthy of love, that you are forgotten, that you are not enough. These moments can feel heavier than any workload, because they attack the very core of self-worth. Mindfulness offers a healing response through self-compassion, a practice of turning the same kindness you would offer a friend toward yourself. Place a hand over your chest, close your eyes, and acknowledge honestly, "This hurts, feels lonely." That act alone interrupts the cycle of self-criticism. Instead of piling shame on top of sadness, you hold space for your feelings without judgment. Picture yourself sitting in a quiet room after a rejection. The silence feels unbearable, and your mind rushes to fill it with accusations. By practicing self-compassion, you meet that silence with gentleness. You begin to separate the moment from your identity. You may be experiencing loneliness, but you are not defined by it. At work, when recognition doesn't come, instead of labeling yourself as invisible, you use this practice to remember your worth is not dependent on external validation. In love, when distance grows between you and someone you care about, self-compassion keeps you from chasing approval that empties you. It teaches you to rest in your own presence, to see value in yourself even when others do not mirror it back. This shift creates inner stability, You move through life less desperate for external reassurance and more grounded in your own quiet strength. Over time, loneliness becomes less of a verdict and more of a reminder to reconnect with yourself first. Mindfulness isn't about escaping life. It's about living it fully, even in your busiest moments. These mindfulness tricks for busy life are simple, but they hold the power to bring you back to peace, clarity, and strength. Remember, you are stronger than this moment, and peace is always closer than you think. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone you love, drop a comment with your favorite trick, and subscribe for more healing and motivation.